Building women's resilience means empowering them through various programs, whether it's by building their technical capacities, their knowledge, their understanding. I'm Agnes McKenna. I'm currently the Gender Lens Enterprise Lead at Plan International.
There is a lot of burden placed on the mother that also leads to a little bit of a challenge for that mother to parent her children correctly. My name is Dr. Fatma Ahmed Ali. I'm an Associate Professor of International Relations. I'm based at United States International University.
We are looking at a situation whereby empowerment can mean the same thing to everyone, and that everyone will be able to be at par, not necessarily that we all become rich. My name is Crispin Afifu. I'm a consultant in public policy and governance issues.
Now it's becoming more and more apparent that women can also venture into so-called men-dominated fields. It just depends on how we are socialized from the time we are brought up into this world. My name is Dr. Sylvia Mbugwa. I'm a consultant neurologist and a physician, and I work at the Aga Khan University Hospital in Nairobi.
You know, when you're idle, you have nothing to do, you lack resources, you have that sense of hopelessness. So if they're able to do their businesses, I believe they'll have back their self-esteem. Rehema Zaid Oboy. I'm the Programs Manager, Integrated Initiatives for Community Empowerment.
Women economic empowerment means agency, means voice, means the ability for a woman or a girl to be able to have the confidence to express themselves, the ability to contribute to their own livelihoods and that of the economy of the country, for example, the ability to make some decisions, health decisions, for example, the ability to even earn own income.
Good afternoon to our education, our strength at 9.2.
Over the years, we've seen more young girls getting into education, enrolling in schools, also graduating. Even the numbers are usually skewed. We see girls performing in a very exemplary way. But then there's a gap between the performance and being able to go into the workplace. There's sort of a drop there. You don't see the same amount of girls who are able to perform so well and graduate, also getting into places of employment or starting their business and being leaders in those spaces.
It's becoming more and more apparent that women can also venture into so-called men-dominated fields. And it just depends on how we are socialized from the time we are brought up into this world. If your parents and if your education givers encourage the girl child and tell her you can do as well as your compatriot men, I think we all can get there.
Empowering women economically also empowers their self-esteem, gives them certain identity also in the society, and I think this is also helpful for that environment, you know, that they are building, like with their children's and with the community.
Providing the technical assistance that is required means closing this gap, providing or addressing rather the challenges that they face, whether it's that they're not able to get where these employment opportunities are, source those opportunities, be recruited for those opportunities, be competitive in the workplace. Even with organizations, it means creating the right workplace policies that allow women to contribute to the economy.
Ukiinua mama, umeinua jamii nzima. Kwa sababu gani nasema hivyo? Kina mama kile kidogo wanapata kwa maisha yao, roho zao sana ziko katika kuimarisha jamii zao, kulea watoto wao, kusomesha watoto wao. Yote hayo ni maendeleo ambayo tunahitaji kwa jamii kiujumla.
Building women's resilience, I attach to building women's independence as well, empowering them so that they can be decision makers, both socially and economically, contribute to their households, and also be able to thrive in the communities that they live in.
In the era of sustainable development goals, in the era of medium-term plan 4 as our country as we head into medium-term plan 4 on Vision 2030, in the era of the 4 pillars of development in Kenya, for example, we're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about health, we're talking about food security, we're talking about housing. All those actually encapsulate women right there as a part of the population that has to benefit from all those efforts that the government is putting in place.
If we involve women from different spheres, we're going to have lasting solution, sustainable solution, I would say. Why? Because women are part of the society. They have answers to these problems. They are affected by these problems. And I think also it's just that sometimes we think that, oh, women are victims, we don't need to disturb them, or they don't know much. And that's why we go wrong, because we don't find a proper solution. So really involving women is one way of assuring that women can multitask, women have information.
There is a lot of untapped potential for the women and the youth within our communities. These women have a lot of potential, and especially in terms of doing small businesses. These women are also involved in other aspects which complement with running business, for instance, table banking. And even within the communities, they form their own small groupings, like women groups or youth groups within the communities.
To be able to participate in development, one, women need to be empowered individually at the community level.
We need to empower our young women to demystify some of the myth in the society.
We have women in the rural, women in the urban, women in the arid and semi-arid areas. But even within the urban, we have women who are maybe at C-suite levels, women somewhere in the middle class, and there are women down within the informal sector. So all this empowerment would mean different things to them.
I think we need to start by first ingraining in our girl child that she can work as hard and do as well as our men, and also that she doesn't need to be scared and feel that she's inferior, which I don't think is how really society wants to put it, but it's how it's come across even as we've grown up, that the girl child has to work twice or thrice as hard in any space to make it to the same level as the boy child. Face it, even in not only in education, look at our places of employment. There are jobs which are deemed to be more for the men, jobs that entail a lot of travel, jobs that require lots of time at work.
We sort of tend to see women as not really providers, but supporters of the household rather than providers. So creating independence where they're able to contribute to households and be decision makers in those households, and also empower them to feel that they can pursue opportunities.
We also need to renegotiate our roles in society, and not every time say that this is how things should be, because sometimes you find women who are actually breadwinners, while the society tells you the role of the breadwinners is the male. So women need to also understand that sometimes you need to be flexible and adopt different roles in the society, but also you have to be aware and be responsible of these roles and know that there are certain things that we don't need to necessarily conform all the time.
We are looking at a situation whereby empowerment can mean the same thing to everyone, and that everyone will be able to be at par. Not necessarily that we all become rich, but we can be able to have our space, our autonomy to make various decisions.
Within the communities, they form their own small groupings, like women groups or youth groups within the communities. The organized groups are a great potential to anyone or the donors who will wish to initiate or bring about a business idea from within these communities.
Mentorship for women, peer-to-peer mentorship with other women who are leaders in those workplaces. And so then closing those gaps is what would come from building their technical expertise. And on the entrepreneurship side, we also see lots of women not knowing, for instance, how to start a business. They don't have financial literacy skills, for instance, maybe because of an education gap on that side, or by lack of practice. And so coming in and providing the financial literacy that's required, specific skills on how to start a business, how to manage a business and run a business so that it's able to grow. Those are some of those technical skills that would be required.
If we organize ourselves and the men and the women come together, if you're bringing up families, you decide we'll work together, I think you can actually be able to navigate those conversations and those territories. If you're going to show up at your child's school function, we can say today, Baba so and so will go, tomorrow I will go. I think you can be able to achieve a balance. So I think it's just conversations that need to be had right from the time you're bringing up both your boy child and your girl child, if you're the parent with both sets of children.
I think culture and beliefs have contributed a lot to gender bias before. Again, with the example of women not being able to balance their work and their household duties, for instance. I use this example because I see it a lot. If a woman has a family, she knows that she needs to take care of the family. So she's expected in the morning to prepare breakfast. At lunchtime, she will have to make lunch. At dinner time, she needs to get home early and make dinner. She also has to ensure the children are taken care of. And so within all of those hours that are spent carrying out those household chores, a lot of women struggle, especially if you don't have the economic allowance to ensure that there's childcare for your family or send them to school or something. Then you're not able to spend those hours building your business or even going to attain employment somewhere.
The women that you are targeting to be, again, as I said earlier, at the center of decision making, at the center of programming, at the center of planning, at the center of budgeting. So this also means that the ideas have to make sense, to be relevant, and also to provide the quality of response that is required in a certain area.
Consulting with them, you cannot just take a project and say, I'm going to Majengo to work with mothers or to work with women. No, but it has to involve the women themselves, where the women understand this organization, they understand the ideology of this, and then understand how to now respond to that. Otherwise, we can work with them, but if they are not able to understand what you want to do with them, it will not be fruitful.
Kenya now has county action plans in each of the 47 counties, and some of these county strategies have a pillar on gender. So I believe that with these efforts and the sensitization that has been going on, ICEP has been doing a lot of work with the US Embassy on amplifying women's voices on peace building, and I know many other organizations, including Midrift Horinet, they're doing a lot of work in Nakuru. So I believe with these efforts, I foresee that in the coming 5 years, we will have a population of women who are well informed.
We should allow women to be assertive, to be able to be ambitious, to go for the best things in the market, and also support that pursuit. If she needs to attain more educational qualifications to be able to become a CEO, then she should be allowed to study without having so many barriers and have, an enabling society, whether at the family or relatives, who allow her to be able to pursue that.
Women can either be victims of terrorism or they can actually be the perpetrators of terrorism.
We have realized a little bit late that violent extremism is gendered, that both men and women do participate, and both men and women also have a stake, and both men and women can actually be very valuable. I mean, they can be a valuable tool to really counter violent extremism.
Once those hotspots have been located, there can be a movement of women trained to engage with those communities, with those young people there, and they will be able to talk them out, they'll be able to nurture them, they'll be able to point them in a different direction, they will be able to actually encourage them in taking alternative means. Because some of the people I've personally interacted with, they say they go there because of to earn an income, which necessarily they haven't earned in their present circumstances. And so is there a way we can come up with alternative means to earn a decent income without shedding blood, without being violent, without killing, without being recruited? Because one thing you realize is they sign up to so many things, including being suicide bombers. So even if you've earned all this money, still is not going to help you. You've left it out there.
Terrorism impacts negatively on society. It impacts on our economic activities. It impacts on personal human rights, right to freedom, right to worship, right to free movement. I mean, if you hear of a terrorist attack, it's all cordoned off. You can't move around. You can't be able to do anything useful for your economy. There's no food. Shelter is destroyed. People don't have access to health. It impacts on the basic fabric of humanity in itself.
The main objective of terrorism is to create fear amongst citizens. So one of the threats that terrorism offers to SMEs is, for example, profiling certain people or stigmatizing certain people in the community, in the sense that they are not able to operate their businesses.
I've seen that a lot in my community coming from Isiolo, in that, you know, you hear someone has joined this group and it's bad, and then the mother or the sister is ostracized from the community because people don't want to, you know, be around that person based on what has happened, which is a terrible thing. That's the time that they require the most support. And so also removing that stigma and creating more of a supportive, you know, environment for them.
Scrutiny by the authority. So it creates a lot of fear, and sometimes most of the victims or the family members of the victims sometimes just decide to stay away from the larger community.
Once you have an empowered community where men and women alike are able to access opportunities, they're able to earn income, that sort of limits, first of all, they're being attracted to such a thing or being wanted to be involved in such a thing to earn an income. But even the women left, despite now being in this position that's, you know, you now have to become the breadwinner, because you already have the right infrastructure, maybe you already had a business or you're already employed, it's not that hard. You can be able to build from there. But if you had nothing and you're having to start from zero, then that's really difficult. And so addressing those root causes in these communities, I think, are what would lead then to the resilience for women, because the adversity doesn't hit them that badly. It's still a terrible thing and it puts them back, but they're able to recover.
Women are also the bridge in the society. They can unite people together. Sometimes also that mother-child relation is necessary to de-radicalize, to also stop this process of radicalization, because the mothers can use their role as mothers and talk to their children and educate their children. I think for sustainable solution, we need to bring mothers on board, we need to bring wives on board, so that they are aware of this madness in the society, they are able to educate, and they are able to even prevent and just see the early warning signs and understand that.
Women have the element, you can sum more these things in terms of them using the soft approach to be able to counter violent extremism where it is, that is the hotspots, but also there are other potential hotspots, because these people move from one point to another. Once they know that you've located them, they would want to move. But because the government has the operators and intelligence to know and track, then women can be onboarded to be involved from the beginning, even in terms of tailoring programs that would ensure there is proper engagement of these young people, discussing with these young people, engaging these young people actually in a conversation. Because when you engage them in a conversation, you realize maybe someone is discontented by a number of things. Maybe someone is mentally disturbed now that mental issue is becoming a real issue in this country. So they will be able to identify that and nip it in the bud before it happens.
When we are able to establish businesses, this means that we reduce idleness amongst youth. We'll also reduce poverty levels. At least people will be able to put a meal on the table from their businesses. And also these youth, you know, when you're idle, you have nothing to do, you lack resources, you have that sense of hopelessness. So if they're able to do their businesses, I believe they'll have back their self-esteem and identity. Why identity? Identity because they'll be able to associate with other people who are doing businesses, and they'll feel that they have also a sense of belonging.
Figuring out what are some of the root causes for some of our young men and maybe women as well getting into extreme, terrorism. And if it's in search of money or earning an income, for instance, then the root cause there to address is what are some of the ways that you can be able to empower this community and provide more employment or economic opportunities for them to ensure that money is not the thing that leads them to such a thing. There's also need to socially support these women, because with economic independence also comes other challenges. I think because of some of the social setups we have, sometimes men feel threatened when women start earning an income and now also have a voice to speak in the household. And that can be worked through by educating men and also creating that environment where men do not feel threatened but supported.
And I think it also stems from education of our boy child and our men folk to not view women as competition, but rather as colleagues and companions, that we all have something to bring to the table.
It should be sort of an equal participation kind of structure where the man has their duties and the women have their duties, and they both merge. They're able to support each other with that.
The biggest intelligence in the house is the woman.
We can call them like the gatekeepers of their own household.
All these keys, right from the global level, will trickle down to the homestead, which is very crucial in upbringing of the next generation.
I would be very careful not to securitize women, because we have used, I think, at a national level, very hardcore approach to violent extremism. But I think there is a great potential to work with women, because women understand those structures, and of course it's those things that emanate from homes that lead to young people to join this violent extremist group, which if women are given the opportunity and chance, they're able to work with the young people and they're able to rectify some of this lacking, that might exist in the household.
The continuous engagement of communities, and starting with women and looking at the way women approach things, could help us really contain this issue and create a society that is free of violence, a society whereby we respect and dignify human life, and in a society whereby we are able actually to quantify the value and the impact of terrorism and see how big a loss it brings and really do the opposite of it.
We need a lot of psychosocial support, mental support, counseling. We need psychologists and psychiatrists trained in how to guide and help victims of terrorism, because it's a whole new dimension and entity on its own.
Providing that holistic support is useful, and you cannot be able to do that alone as an organization. You need other partners to also help you in whatever you're trying to achieve and also be able to scale it. You just don't want to do it on a small level. To be able to grow the impact that you're trying to create, you need other partners who will hold your hand with the same mission to be able to scale that support.